One of the most difficult realities about being a celebrity is the fact that they're always being watched under a microscope. It's almost as if every move they make is constantly being monitored, leaving little to no space for privacy. As their popularity rises, so does their amount of critiques. On top of that, young and rising artistas in the Philippines often have to absorb the pressures of being involved in a love team, as well as the fake news and scandals that come along with it. The result of this marketing strategy makes it difficult for us peasants to discern whether their relationships are pure or just a narrative. But over the years, former Miss World Megan Young and YouTube star Mikael Daez have constantly been showing us on their platforms that they are nothing short of an authentic couple. They share their stories on a podcast called Behind Relationship Goals, a show that is frequently being ranked at the top 20 podcasts in the Philippines. In this episode, I invited the power couple to let us know more about the relationship dynamic and how they create content together. I hope you all enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to share it if you did. Now let's hop on right into the pod with Mr. and Mrs. Daez.
That was a hoot!
What is poppin', and welcome to the Rocka's Modern Life Show. My name is Rocka, future veterinarian, ex-varsity athlete, and dude who loves to talk about all things hot in PH pop culture. Despite the name, the show ain't about me, but truly about the unique things that my guests bring to the table, while also providing some quality kalokohan. So buckle up and let's get rockin'. Sup fam, I just got some really exciting news that I want to share with you all before we start the show. I was just able to partner up with Shopee!
As in Chris Aquino Shopee?
As in Jose Mario Chan Shopee? You know it. So now whenever you order using my personalized link, you'll be supporting a broke sad vet student, which is me. Get all of the hottest deals for the lowest prices on Shopee by clicking on the link in my description or in my bio. And I know when you don't click it. Also, Resort World Manila, not a sponsored post. Again, I really appreciate the support. So now, let's get into the episode. What's up, guys? Why don't you introduce yourself, your profession, and your favorite tech gadget at the moment?
Hey guys, what's up? This is my wife, and she'll introduce herself first.
Hey, what's up? This is my husband, and he's gonna introduce the both of us.
What? Okay. This is Megan Daez. She is my wife, and here below, hiding under the table, is Sobadoba Daez.
Our child, the cutest ever, and of course, my husband, Mikael Daez, over here,
Cousin of Roque.
cousin of
Yes,
Roque.
that is my
Main podcast.
Yeah,
Main
that is my
podcaster for this show.
How does it feel to not be the host for once?
It feels relaxing because I know that we don't have to think about anything else aside from your questions today.
Yeah, we just answer some questions, make cuento, have fun. All pressure is on you. Edit and everything. So
I will take it. I'll gladly take it.
Yeah. So this is fun, but we enjoy being on this on different podcasts. It's something that we support, and it's been a growing community here in the Philippines. So I'm personally happy to see family coming on board, and I'd love to be on anybody else's podcast, whoever might create one as well.
Well, you know, guys, you heard it from Mikael himself. If you guys want to get them for a podcast, feel free to shoot them a message. But yeah, why don't you, for those who don't already know, but I'm pretty sure most do, your profession and your favorite tech gadget at the moment.
Okay, so
What is your profession, Bonizi?
You know, my profession has actually changed throughout the years because I started as an actor on TV and in film, and then I eventually shifted to becoming a TV presenter or a host, and then I became a beauty queen, and now I guess is content creator something that I would call myself?
That's fair.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I guess now I'm an actress / content creator and a gamer.
Yeah. For myself, what I would put on application forms is host because it's the shortest word. 4 letters lang.
Efficient,
And then
efficient.
if they wanted more specificity, I would put actor slash host, which I was for the past 10 years, exclusively for GMA. But yeah, I think content creator is a legitimate profession now. Being a
Yeah.
YouTuber, it's not far fetched for people to hear others say, "Oh yeah, I'm a professional YouTuber." So in a certain way, that's what we are as well.
Yeah.
Especially during this time, we haven't really appeared in many shows on TV. Everybody's kind of transitioned to digital. So we produce our own work, if you want to call us producers. We also direct our own work. You want to call us directors, that's fine. You can give us whatever title you want to give us. We're kind of just chill doing what we got to do.
Yeah, and I think because we're at home most of the time and we don't have a team, we're everything all in one.
Yeah.
So you can just call us a production company, the Bones and Fofo production company. basically.
And then Soba, our guest star, all the time.
All the time, the star of the show. But yeah, those titles are fair. You could even call yourself entrepreneurs since you guys run your business too. So lahat na lang, all in one.
Yeah,
Lahat
and
na.
same with you. Every other content creator can take claim to all those titles as well.
Most definitely. But yeah, like your favorite tech gadget at the moment, because I'm well aware that you guys are gamers and tech lovers. So like any of your latest buy or something that you just find extra useful recently.
Yeah, this is perfect timing.
Perfect. Because Mikael and I just built, oh, sorry, Soba.
Okay, I'm gonna put Soba down while we show you our
Okay,
stuff.
so it's perfect because we just built this the other day and we're really into mechanical keyboards. So we have a his and hers mechanical keyboard showdown for you. This is mine.
Oh, very
It
clean.
is inspired by the original Game Boy. So
Ooh,
if you
yeah.
want a little sound test over here, does it sound like a marshmallow?
It's very quiet and
Yeah, so
Plush.
it's got its accents. This is Bonizi's keyboard. I have the same keyboard frame, just in a different colorway. So you can't really see. There you go.
Nice.
So I don't know if you're an anime person, but My Hero Academia, this is Deku inspired. He is the
I know
main
Deku.
character of that anime. Mine sounds definitely clickier.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what we're into right now. We just built this a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
and very happy with them. I must
Very,
say.
very much into mechanical keyboards. I would say that is my main hobby as of now.
Nice. And do you guys build that like from scratch, even the body and like everything from the switches?
So yeah, you can customize every single part that you have in the keyboard, from the body of the keyboard to the plate of the keyboard to the PCB, the switches, the keycaps, every single thing that you want to customize, you can and make it your own.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I actually just recently too got into mechanical keyboards. Not exactly nice. I just got like an entry level one, so I got this one over here, and
Hey,
it's like
nice.
extra clicky.
Oh, what is that? What is that? Is that an Anpro
It's
or
an
a
Keychron?
RK, just an RK.
RK, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
RK. Just
gotcha.
entry
Yeah,
level,
yeah,
because
yeah.
like I'm not exactly a PC gamer or anything like that. It's just that it just feels nice, to type on it, like feel
Yeah.
extra productive. Kahit you're just like messaging your friends, like you just
Alam
feel like
ko
you're getting
na.
shit done.
Alam ko na ireregalo ko sa'yo, Roque.
Uy. Yeah, especially you pa. Alam ko, mahilig ka sa mga keycaps, diba? May collection ka pa doon na iba't ibang
Yes.
stuff.
I have it here.
Wow.
I have my keycap collection. So this is the latest boodle that I always tell Mikael about. And he's always like, what did you buy again? Why is your PayPal? Why am I getting emails from your PayPal? So ito yung dahilan kung bakit. Lagi ako may notification.
Worth it. Honestly, if it brings you joy, then that's fine. And by the way, for all of the listeners that are tuning into this episode on Spotify, make sure to head on to YouTube so that you guys can see the sick keyboard setups that Mikael and Megan have over there. But yeah, with that being said, I just before we move on to the show, I just want to thank you guys so much for agreeing to be on this podcast and allotting time for me, because personally I look up to you guys as content creators and individuals, so consider y'all as like some of my role models. And for anyone that doesn't know their podcast, it's Behind Relationship Goals. It's constantly in the top 100 podcasts in the Philippines, and it's an awesome podcast and enjoyable for people of different backgrounds, no matter what industry you might be in. So thank you for joining me and my listeners today.
Yeah, thank you for having
thanks,
us,
man.
Roque. And it's funny that you say that, because for us, we don't really expect family and friends to really listen or watch our stuff because some people think, that's so weird. I see them in person or I know them personally. So why would I listen to them?
So weird.
So we appreciate that you take your time to listen to the stuff that we make. So heart.
Of course. It's honestly so
Yeah.
entertaining, and like, it's different like when you guys are in the content that you guys create, because like, your full attention and focus is there, and then you guys really structure it out. So it's very entertaining, and it's like, refreshing also to see you guys like in your content, given these strange times wherein we don't get to hang out as often.
Yeah,
But-
yeah, and you'd be surprised sometimes, like especially family members, they have cameo stories. We have we have had many cameo stories from family members, cousins, of course, usually yung mga ka-age ko. Just to let everyone know, I am. How old are you, Doc? Like, what year were you born?
I was born 97, so I'm currently 24.
Darn, he's like 9 years younger than us. I was born 88, so you are the batch of nobody. You're in the
Nobody.
middle of my
Yeah.
7th sibling and 8th sibling.
Right.
Yeah, in the middle of Martin and
94,
Emilio.
94 and 2000. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Context for everyone.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows. Yeah, like that's why I can jive with both Emilio and Martin, because like I feel like, especially with our generation, like I'm kind of like medyo millennial, medyo Gen Z, so like it works.
Caught in between. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Exacto. All right, so why don't we head over to our first question of the pod, which is what's poppin'?
What's poppin'?
So guys, what's poppin'?
What's poppin'?
What's poppin', Monizy?
Well, we just watched this new show called What If.
Marvel, What If?
Marvel
Right.
What If. We watched one episode and wow, I was mind blown by it. I didn't think that I would like something like this, yung parang superhero thing, because I'm not really into superhero shows because one, I don't like really long action scenes. They bore the heck out of me. And sometimes I'm just like bored with it, but I really love the story flow and the arc of the story. So if you guys are looking for something new to watch, check out What If.
Yeah. For me, what's been popping? Really just work. We're right now, as we're recording this, we're in the middle of ECQ Part 3 here in
Season
Metro
3.
Manila.
Sadly.
So we've just been shooting here at home, editing, working. Pag ECQ, we don't get to send out our material. We don't get to help. Don't get to ask editors for help. So we do everything in-house na talaga. So this is usually a busier time for us, as weird as that may sound. So it's a bit counterintuitive, but that's what's happening now. So, and that's what's been keeping me busy.
Also, you haven't been to our place yet, but hopefully when, things are more maluwag and you can start visiting, our house looks like a studio. So we don't have a dining table. Wherever I am right now, this is my desk setup. And this is where our dining table is actually supposed to be.
Yeah, we're very fluid that way.
Yeah.
We kind of eat in the kitchen counter, standing up, sitting on the floor. It doesn't really matter. Studio first, everything else, every other life essential, that's like second priority.
Yeah.
Yeah, and coffee pa in between, as I can see from your background right there. It's like I know how much
Yeah.
coffee is important to you guys. So
Wait a minute, are you into coffee?
of course, how can I be?
Ay,
at
coffee
school
guy ka,
without
coffee guy.
Yeah, of course.
Black
of course.
or mga cappuccino, milk-based stuff?
Black. You gotta go with the black.
Ah.
I have no soda,
Okay.
so I go with
I
the
know
black.
na. I know na. I will send you something keyboard-ish and also coffee.
Yeah, boy!
Wow, Christmas came early, guys. Like I'm getting so many gifts.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, we love it when family, friends are into coffee, because that was our first love together. It was the first. It
Kilig
was.
ako.
It was the first activity that we found as a couple. You know how you come together as a couple, and I had my thing, she had her thing. We shared that. But coffee was the first thing that we found together.
Yeah.
That prior to the relationship, we had no relationship to coffee. We had no affinity to it. So it's a huge deal, and it just kept on growing and growing and growing to the point where we shared it with my siblings, my cousins, my friends. So when anybody whom we know, tells us that they like coffee, we used to invite them out and say, "Hey, come on, let's check out this place." hang out there for a bit. So in time, when the pandemic ends.
Yeah, definitely book it. Like I remember that time when we were in Baler and then you took us to that coffee shop that like I don't know if you had some shares in it or
Coffee
had some
Empire.
affinity. Coffee Empire had some great coffee, and that was actually like the first couple of years I started getting into coffee because I was like first year
Nice.
college, and then I was like, damn, this is some good stuff. And
Yeah.
Oh
after
yeah,
that, it was good. It was
That's
great.
so cool.
It was great.
Yeah.
And back then, like I couldn't drink black yet. I was like drinking cappuccino, but then I was like,
Aw.
this is pretty good. And now I can't go more than a day without it. So maybe
Wait,
you
I
started
have
my
a
addiction.
question. What did you get in Coffee Empire? What drink did you get?
It's gotta be either a cappuccino or a flat white. One of the two. Very
Gotcha.
creamy and
Okay.
foamy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So up until now, the owners of Coffee Empire and the baristas there are still our friends.
Mhm.
They were also the baristas in our wedding, and no, we are not shareholders
really?
of that company.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
anong tawag dito, we're there enough for people to think that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you were going behind the bar pa. So I was like, oh, he probably runs this
Yeah.
place.
Mukha lang.
Mukha lang, mukha lang.
Mukha lang, mukha lang. But yeah, speaking of coffee, are you guys game to play a game? Like I got a game prepared
Yeah.
for you guys, and
Game,
there's some
whatever
stuff
you
on
want.
coffee. All right, let's get to
Whatever
it.
you
So
want to do, we're game.
for the listeners that are constant with the Rock is Small Life podcast, you might know this game already, and it's called Who is More Likely to. So it's pretty simple. I count down from 3, and after I say go, you guys say the name. So if Mikael, you choose yourself, you also speak in third person. So you say Mikael. So pretty simple enough. And if you guys are ready to go, we can start.
G.
Free game.
All right. So for the first question of this game, who is more likely to spend the most money on in-game purchases? 3,
Ah.
2, 1, go.
Mikael.
Okay. Well, why is that?
Hell yes.
He's the whale.
I'm a
The
whale. I don't
whale.
know. Do you know this? Do you know the term whale?
No, not at all.
Okay, here. Okay, so a bit of a sharing here. In any game, there's usually a community. Let's say you have Ragnarok, there's a community, and usually there are in-game items or in-game purchases which you
Right.
can spend on. And if there's a person or a character who just buys everything so that he's automatically the strongest person there, like literally just like shelling out everything there is just to buy every single item, that's what you call a super duper mega whale. So yeah, Bonizi calls me a whale.
He's a
I
whale.
must admit there have been times I was whaling it out in some of the games that I
Too
would play.
much. Too much.
much,
That
too
I had to
much.
tell him, you gotta take a step back and maybe become a shark or a dolphin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't whale
You gotta
every single
downscale it a
month.
little bit.
So
Yes.
now I can confidently say I've been downgraded to guppy status, but
Wow,
I'm quite
guppy.
happy.
That's
I'm
saying a
quite
lot.
happy.
That's saying a lot.
I'm quite happy
Are
swimming
you a
in.
guppy?
Yeah, dude, you're like a dolphin now, and I'm a little guppy in my
Oof.
pond.
Oops.
She spends more than me now.
Yeah.
All right.
That means I'm stronger than you now too.
Times change, habits change. But yeah, why don't we move on to our next question? So, you guys like to travel. Mikael posts a lot of travel vlogs on your YouTube channel. So my next question is, who is more likely to forget their passport at home? 3,
Oh, interesting.
2, 1, go.
Mikael.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. He has forgotten his passport maybe more than 2 times.
You forgot your passport once.
One time. But there's more of an opportunity for you to forget yours.
Yeah, I would say that. But I'm also definitely the more spontaneous one. So just by frequency, the number of times I could forget is higher because I would be the one traveling a bit more. But yeah, I think I would like to think that I always had a reason because I was so excited. Bonizi though, that one time you left your passport was because you just forgot to double check.
I forgot to double check. And I double check all the time, but it was just this one time. I think I was traveling for Miss World at this point, and I was super stressed because dami kong dala. I had like 3 luggages, and I just needed to like take everything all at once. Tapos nakalimutan ko. And I said, please come to the airport. Bring my passport. I need it ASAP.
Yeah, I just before you get to your next question, just to share, when I used to travel alone, so Bonizi wasn't in the picture yet, I would never ever forget anything because I had this checklist in my head already of what I was going to bring.
Yeah.
I am a minimalist. I used to be a minimalist traveler, so literally I just had my backpack, and I would only have one pair of jeans and like 3 pairs of shirts. If I
Okay.
needed another shirt, I would just buy in like the ukay ukay wherever
mga
I was
tiyangge.
going.
Whale.
Yeah. So what's it called? I was super minimalist, so it was so easy to keep track of everything. At this point I wasn't even shooting vlogs yet or anything, so I had like 6 items on my checklist. That was it.
Wow.
I didn't even bring cash. I just brought like a credit card and an ATM, and that was it.
Wow. Okay.
So it was only as I traveled with her and I offloaded that responsibility.
So kasalanan mo
if-
daw, Megan.
So, pag may nakalimutan siya, kasalanan ko. Kasi
Somewhat,
nasa checklist ko na.
because I offloaded that off my mental space now, so it's all her fault now.
But yeah, I'm sure it's like so stressful. And it's funny how passports are the things that you end up forgetting when that's like probably the most important thing to take when you're traveling. But I mean, it's happened to me also countless times. But yeah, moving on to our next question. So we talked about coffee earlier, how these two love coffee, and it was like one of their first common denominator in hobbies. So for my next question is, who is more likely to go multiple days without coffee?
Oh,
3, 2, 1, go.
Megan?
Ooh, first conflict of the game. Okay, let's hear each other's reasons.
I think in my head, I think it's Mikael because he has done numerous coffee cleanses. Na he just like stayed away from coffee for like a week or 2 weeks, and it was a conscious effort for him because he started needing more coffee to like stay awake, or like parang your body was wanting more, and you started getting headaches, coffee headaches actually.
Yeah.
So he was like, maybe I'll just lay it off for a little bit. So
Yeah,
that's
no.
why.
The only reason I stopped, the few times I stopped, which is like a handful of times over the past 8 years, was purely for health reasons. So the first one was because I was drinking so much coffee. This was like my first 2 years, and I was drinking like 5 to 8 different kinds
It
of
was so
coffee
bad.
in a
Wow.
day. That I started feeling like some acidity,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the very beginnings of it, and it was so clear what it was because I was drinking so much of it that I was like, oh, okay, I gotta stop. So I stopped for a couple of, I think maybe a week or a week and a half.
2 weeks.
And then the only other times that I would stop was because one, I would go to the dentist and they would whiten our teeth and
Tas
they would
bawal.
say you can't have coffee for like a week. So I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And what were the other times?
The last time that
There was
we
one other
did a
time.
coffee cleanse was when we got our vaccine.
Ah,
So
yes,
we
yes,
tried to
yes,
stay
yes,
away
yes.
from alcohol,
Any
caffeine.
stimulant. So yeah, no alcohol, no exercising. So we were just resting after we got our shots. But yeah, usually it's just for health reasons. Other than that, then no, we will have coffee.
Yeah, I
Every
completely agree. But what makes you say that Megan would be the one to go multiple days without coffee?
I don't know. I feel more committed to coffee than her. That's just my opinion.
Paano masabi?
I am slightly offended by this.
Yeah.
How dare you say that? I
Yeah,
would
I
not
feel-
be committed to coffee.
I feel a bit more committed than you.
Okay. With that, you will make me coffee every day this week.
No, I just say I'm committed to it. You're still making coffee.
Nabudol pa ako.
Oo nga eh. But yeah, with that being said, why don't we move on to our fourth question, which is, who is more likely to survive in a deserted island? 3, 2, 1, go.
Mikael.
I didn't even say anything.
Well,
It was
why?
like useless. I didn't even have to waste my energy with this one.
I think that above anything else, I will probably lose this challenge just by a panic attack.
Yeah, dude.
Not knowing what to do and
From
not being able
anxiety.
to figure, from anxiety, definitely.
Yeah, hindi pa nagla-landing yung dalawang paa ni Bones dun sa isla. Wala na. Ayaw na niya.
Wala na. na heart attack na.
Na-heart attack na siya.
Yeah, you put me on a deserted island, I'd probably explore the place first and
Probably the time of his
find a
life.
camera, like take
Yeah,
some
may
photos.
vlog muna.
Like, wait, okay to, until I realize that I don't have food, then maybe I'll panic a little bit.
Yeah, of course. All right, so for the last question of this game, a little bit controversial, but let's see who they choose. Who is more likely to forget an anniversary or birthday? 3, 2, 1, go.
Both
Megan.
of us.
I had to pick one. I wanted to say both of us for something, but to be honest with you, okay. Historically, Bonizi has forgotten way more than me. But at the same time, I don't really care much for these dates, so I'm like whatever.
Yeah.
So parang two sides, same result, different roads. Bonizi just keeps forgetting, and it's okay. We don't really celebrate birthdays as much
Or anniversaries.
or
And
anniversaries.
I think it's also controversial for some people because these are dates that mean a lot to them and it's a way to celebrate, oh, we've been together for another year, or it's another day to celebrate. But the thing is, for us, it's really a celebration every day. And as cheesy or as corny as it may sound, wala eh, ganun talaga. Like,
Yeah.
we just celebrate every day that we have together. And I don't think that we should allot one day just to celebrate that.
Yeah. I think we mentioned this in one of the podcast episodes we had. To put so much pressure on one day when our lives are technically not fully controlled by us. You have work, you have obligations to family members, to people around you. You have obligations to your pets, to yourself as well. To put it on one exact day. And what if all the factors, all the forces in the universe come together, to make harang that day for you to be able to celebrate it properly? For me, that's a lot of pressure on that one day. So as Bonizi said, why don't we just celebrate it every day and spread out all that pressure?
Parang
And just be happy every day.
I would feel so bad if we celebrated our anniversary every single year, but the other days of the year weren't as special.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang there's so much pressure on that one day, like you said. Every day na lang.
Yeah.
Right.
Kahit wala ng celebration.
But of course, this is just us. Everybody has to each their own, whatever floats their boat. We respect that. I'm curious. Okay, how important is an anniversary for you?
Actually, I think me and my girlfriend, I think we have the same mindset towards that. Wherein, you should be making every day, special for you. It doesn't need to be so dependent on one day, because parang you like you said, you put so much pressure in that one day, and if like something comes up or something goes wrong, then like you just feel miserable. You're setting
Miserable,
yourself
yeah.
up for like
For failure.
For failure, yeah.
Yeah,
And-
no, you are definitely.
and especially since my girlfriend and I, we were both athletes and we're both student athletes. It was like games would come up and like training last minute. So I think we're both pretty understanding when it comes to these like special dates. And there have been multiple times wherein we just celebrate maybe the next week or something like that, and like just adapt, because it's like yes, that day is important, but then there's like every day is with that person is also just as important. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Pstoy, you. Yeah, you. The one there making your morning coffee or getting your daily exercise in. Don't you think that it's time for that new French press or a new set of workout clothes? Don't you feel like you deserve something fresh, something exciting? Because I sure do. So why don't you hop onto Shopee to avail of the non-stop sales that have been going on for as long as Juan Ponce Enrile has been alive, which is a really long time. Everything from coffee paraphernalia to home workout equipment.
We've got it all for you.
And the best part is, I was lucky enough to partner up with Shopee to keep you updated with all of the hottest sales. But wait. Before you skip this ad, let me be real with y'all. As you know, I'm a broke full-time vet student, and I do this podcast to keep you, my friends and family, informed about the hot topics here in the PH and the industry leaders involved with them. The main reason I started this podcast was to educate and entertain people, and I hope you're learning something new in this episode. So if you enjoy this podcast, it would mean the world to me if you used my Shopee link to keep these episodes coming. All you have to do is to check the description down below or the tap link in my bio to access my personal link. If you're anyone like me, you've probably got tons of items in your cart. So go to Shopee, treat yourself with something new, and support this podcast. Like the beautiful and unwithering Chris Aquino once said, "Shop na!" As discussed in my prior Homie Hump Day episode, running a business with your partner, having your significant other as your associate can get incredibly dicey. There will be times when your work invades your personal space and vice versa. Finding a balance for both is without a doubt challenging, yet Megan and Mikael Daez seem to have it down to a T. In the second half of the show, I wanted to learn more about their podcast origin story, how they partitioned their work from life as a couple, and even ask for some tips for anyone looking to start their own podcast. So why don't we move on to like the main meat of the show? And I want to start off by asking you guys, like, what's the origin story of Behind Relationship Goals? Because I know that you guys were together for way before that, and you guys were together way before you guys even went public. So like, what made you guys decide to start Behind Relationship Goals? And a follow-up question actually after that is, how hard is it to keep your like relationship a secret as well?
Okay, let's start one by one. So the origin story of Behind Relationship Goals. And I guess just like you, we were also inspired by podcasts that we would listen to. So at that time, I was listening to my friends Sab and Jim with Wake Up with Jim and Sab. And I was also listening to Casey Neistat and his wife with their podcast. And it was something that I would just do on a regular basis when I would go to the gym. And I would try to introduce it to Mikael. And he said, it's not really my thing, but why don't we start our own podcast? So that's when he started to plant the idea na, hey, let's start a podcast. And from there, we had to think, what are we going to talk about?
Right.
No. Wait. Let me
Okay.
correct that story. At that last point, I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about, and she had all these questions of what are we going to talk
Yeah.
about in the podcast. So in my head, this was the time when I was doing the vlog, and a lot of the work on the vlog was being done by myself. So shooting, editing, coming up with the different concepts, and I found it very limiting because in our experiences, the vlog is just what 8 minutes, 7 minutes of maybe a 100-hour trip. And there's so many experiences from that you love to unpack and share to people at length. Like just like what we're doing now. We talk about something, you ask us one question, and we have like 5 minutes of of sharing. And
Yeah.
same with you. We're able to throw it back to you, and then you share your own point of view. So that was the kind of back and forth and storytelling that we wanted to get into. So I told Bonizi, you know what? This is connected to your second question. We have been very private for the past half decade. There are so many stories there that we can tell because it's so interesting because other people can relate to it in so many different levels, not just those who are also in our industry, but those who have to keep their relationships more discreet for whatever reasons, or those who went through the same experiences that we did. So I told Bonizi that there's so much to talk about because she was thinking it had to be like very talk show maybe, or there had to be very specific topics. I
Right.
told her, Bonizi, we could come in, have one question, and then just roll from that question and see what happens. And I was ready to kind of just roll with those punches. But that's my spontaneity coming out. So Bonizi has always been very
Structured.
anxious. No, I think more anxious. I think Bonizi's been very anxious because she's very spontaneous also. It's just that her anxiety and her fears get ahead of the spontaneity.
Yeah.
I
So
see.
once you get rid of that obstacle, it's all spontaneity coming from Bonizi as well. So that's been fun. But that's the origin story of the podcast. So we say Behind Relationship Goals, but it's literally just us telling stories.
Right. Yeah, giving your audience like, a more personal connection with you guys, getting to know you guys more as people and not just like, artistas or hosts. But it's like, we're human too. We go through like the same struggles that everybody else does. And, what are some of the nice, like comments or feedback you guys got in terms of relatability to like your content?
Oh,
Oh,
great. Amazing.
wow.
We've had amazing comments. Our favorite comments are those who share their own experiences. So we talked about all the major relationship topics you could think of, from jealousy to finances, how to get married, how do you think
Mhm.
about getting married, what happens during the Liga 1 stage, etc., etc. So all these usual stereotypical topics you would talk about when you say, okay, relationship, everything under that basket we talk about, and we just share our own experiences, and from there it just becomes a trigger point for the audience to sometimes also go into the comment section and say, hey, that's so interesting, this is my experience. So that conversation has always been very nice because it triggers memories for the audience, it gives them some sort of
Mm.
stimulus to react at the very least.
Yeah.
So I think those are the comments that I like the most.
I think for me, the comments that I like the most are when people react to Mikael and I disagreeing, because obviously there are going to be times that we will have different views
Of
about
course.
different situations. Like, let's say, Mikael and I have a different view on cheating, or a different view on, what is jealousy really like? Is it okay to get jealous of a certain situation? And they don't realize sometimes that, okay, I didn't realize that Mikael had this point of view about something, or that I relate more to Megan and my partner is like Mikael. So when people are able to really connect to you based off their own experience, and they can say na, napagdaanan ko rin yan. I feel very connected to them, and I feel like, okay, we're all connecting because of this moment and because of this story. And that's, for me, that's the beauty of the podcast, is that we're able to tell stories, and people are able to tell their own stories alongside us.
Yeah. And I completely resonate with what you just said, because that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to start the podcast as well. Because, these are oftentimes the topics that I have are, topics that I'm interested in, something that I can
Mm-hmm.
relate with. And it's just so nice to talk with different friends or different industry leaders to just kind of pick their brain a bit, like hear their opinions and, try to learn and grow from what they might have to say. And I'm sure that you guys have been able to, conceptualize a lot of podcast topics and different outlines or ideas for your episodes from the comment section below. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm also curious to know, like, what's your creative process into planning and filming these podcasts, because like you're doing it with your spouse, and like it's easy for you guys because you guys already have the chemistry down, and you can work at your own pace. But why don't you walk us through like your creative process in terms of creating your podcast?
At first, it was really hard for me to actually create a podcast episode, because, like Mikael said, my anxiety always gets the best of me, and I'm always thinking too far ahead of myself. So he's like, let's have a podcast topic, and we're going to talk about jealousy. And at the top of my head, I'm like, wait, what questions do we ask? Like, how is the flow of the podcast gonna go? And it was hard for me at first, because pinangungunahan ko yung sarili ko, and I have a certain way of thinking about talk shows, because since we're hosts and we're used to people just giving us scripts, I'm used to
Mm-hmm.
just reading them and not
Right.
really having my own thoughts about it. So it was hard for me at first to construct it, kasi akala ko I needed like 10 questions, 20 questions, like lined up. I thought it needed to be an hour long. But really, like Mikael said, all we needed was one question, because we have all the experience, we have all our own stories that we can just share with people. And it's not about what's right or wrong, it's really just about sharing what you've been through.
Yeah. Sorry, I was laughing because I remembered. I think the first day that we shot a podcast, literally 5 minutes into it, Boniti just stops talking and looks at me, looking for a take two. Like, what in the
Why?
world is
Why daw?
happening
Why? Wala.
here?
Kabado lang.
Kabado lang. Parang he was like, wait, I want to say that thing again. Can we have a take two? And in my head, I was like, no, not at all. Not in the slightest.
No, actually, sabi ko sa kanya, let's do a practice episode. Like a whole freaking episode. Sabi
Just
ko,
to
practice
practice.
tayo. Yeah, practice lang tayo ng isang episode and then we'll record it. He's like, no, we're gonna record this episode. I don't care how many times you falter or like you make a mistake. We're gonna shoot this episode.
Yeah, I mean, just to share where I was coming from there, because I believe in storytelling, the power of stories.
Right.
Because from my experience growing up, ever since I was younger, more than school, I think that some of the best and most exciting lessons that I've learned were from people, and not necessarily people, adjacent to me. It's, people I look up to, the NBA players, their stories, other successful people who you look up to and read about and eventually watch on YouTube. And then, of course, stories of your titos, titas, cousins, your friends.
Of course.
I mean, when you think about it, your personality and how you move and how you react to so many things, these are formed by stories of people that are brought to you and that you absorb. So I told them, I was in my head, I was like, any story that I tell, even though the person was not directly in that story, there's always something to take out of it. Sometimes it's just entertainment. Sometimes they get bored. That's still a trigger, right? It's
Yeah.
still a reaction. So for me, any reaction is valid because that's how we are in life. We go through life and we go through the different stories. We're part of so many different storylines of all the other people who we intersect with. And that's what builds on our experiences. And then these experiences shape us. So we're basically just rehashing these stories and sharing it with people. And however they want to react to it is valid. And it just so happens that sometimes, it's a really, really nice reaction where it becomes a conversation and a dialogue.
Right.
So that's where I was coming from when we started the podcast. And of course, Bonizi, different personality. The hesitations, yun yung nauna. But I knew that she understood the power of storytelling as well. I just had to give her, hey, it's okay. We can do this.
Yeah. And I'm sure that it was a pretty it was easy for you guys to kind of build off like your whatever it be script or even just that one question because you guys shared so many stories and experiences together.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're ultimately defined by the people and the experiences that we had throughout our lives, and that's really kind of shapes who you are as an individual. And that leads me to my next question because since you guys work together in behind relationship goals and even in your vlogs, you guys are basically each other's business partner. You guys both have your own roles to play, and you guys are the ones to set the deadlines. So I'm just curious to know, what are some pros and cons to running a channel with your or podcast with your partner?
Wow.
Just off the
So
top of
much
your head.
on so much on off the top of my head right
Let's start
away.
with cons
But,
para we end on a lighter note.
let me preface this the answer. Okay, so there are pros and cons, but these pros and cons are dictated by the discipline that you have. And I think discipline is something that you build on and that you work on, and it's something that we had to find together. So there's discipline as an individual and discipline as a team, just like in sports, right? You have
Right, yeah.
your point guard could be disciplined, but if your team is like watak,
Yeah,
it's gonna happen to you
pabigat.
guys. So anong tawag dito? That's what we had to find in so many different levels. And once you hit a point where the discipline is so in sync, then that's when a lot of the bullet points under the cons start to slip away and it's almost all pros. But definitely, I guess, to get to your question exactly, I would say that the most difficult part is just finding that happy midpoint of your work styles at the start.
Right.
Because it's always going to be different, like your energy, your starting point, like me being spontaneous, Bonizi starting with her hesitations, and there could be so many combinations of that and permutations of that. So it's really getting through that and eventually finding your midpoint. Bonizi, you go. What are your pros and cons?
For me, first, figuring out what the roles are in this team because Mikael said specifically in the beginning, Bones, ikaw nang bahala sa podcast, tapos siya na yung bahala sa vlog because he was doing everything. So, dapat mahati yung work namin.
Oo nga naman.
And Mikael is...
I'm so sorry, I remembered again. When we had that deal, there was no podcast for 3 months.
You didn't let me get to my point.
I'm so sorry. I was just laughing. It triggered a memory. Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
Okay. So, Mikael said, ako nang bahala. But Mikael kasi is a natural born leader. Like, he's a go-getter. Yun talaga yung personality niya. And ako naman, I'm more like a follower, and I'm not really parang a go-getter like he is. So parang I'm just like, okay, tell me what to do, and I'll make sure that I do it.
No comment na po ako dyan.
Lol. Hindi naman.
Lol.
Lol.
I think you realized that on your own.
Semi-follower.
No, but the listeners they get what you mean.
Yeah. So anyways, he said, you're in charge, Bones. But the thing is, I was so used to like Mikael being a leader, and I wasn't used to being the one in charge of everything. So napunta na nga siya dun sa 3 months, wala kaming podcast, because I think I was waiting for Mikael to tell me, hey, Bones, like, let's do this podcast. Not knowing na parang I should have been the one to really take charge and say, Fofo, we need to get a podcast in. We need to like talk about this and discuss this, because admittedly, I just wasn't used to taking charge of any situation. And having the podcast and us going through that whole situation, I would say also helped out our relationship, because our dynamic shifted from that point on, from Mikael being, I guess, what they say, the pants in the relationship, to us becoming individuals na talaga. Like, he was his own person, I became my own person, and I wasn't as dependent of Mikael anymore.
Yeah, and I guess just to wrap up our answer to this and get back to maybe like one pro and one con, I think the biggest pro is that we're together all the time.
Yeah.
And that gives us the opportunity to really work on our rhythm, our chemistry together, doing something, because chemistry doing different activities is always different. And I think one con that we also have is that we can also kind of get in the way of one another, because some of us might try to impose one's personality on another, and another person might not be willing to adjust their own personality. So I think that's one pro and con.
Yeah, definitely. And since you guys are living together, it's like it's kind of it can be difficult, I'm sure, to kind of distinguish between work and relax, and like like just living and relaxing. And yeah, I think it's really important that you have distinguished roles of each of you guys, so that there's some level of accountability as well.
Yeah.
So that that you're in charge of this, and I don't want to have to worry about it. And like, I mean, I guess it's also another pro that, since you guys are always together, it's like you guys can constantly work on improving, your work dynamic. And it teaches you also, I'm sure, a lot about that person, and trying to improve your relationship. But with that being said, like, I'm sure there have been, some fights, like, because, this work in revolved, and like, since you guys live together, it's like pag nag-away kayo, like, you're still in the same condo, so you have to sleep in the same bed. Just curious, off the top of the head, was there any big fight you guys had, and how did you guys resolve it, more importantly?
Very interesting.
Yeah, no, we've had many arguments over work and responsibilities. And I think one thing that I want to share is that we talk to one another and say, okay, what are you going to do about it now? So let's say we're facing the problem already, there's an issue at hand. And if we both decide that, okay, we're going to work on this right now, like the very next moment, we're going to try to be better. Now, the problem usually arises pag paulit-ulit nang nangyayari. Diba? Because at that point, you're like, oh, okay, you need to be able to adjust, because whatever you think you are doing to try and improve yourself, it isn't working. So is there anything that she can do to help me out? Is there anything that I can do to help you, adjust what you're doing and what you're trying to fix or improve on? So I guess when it comes to the fights, it really stems from that. And we've had a lot of that, because we've worked with one another on so many different levels, but it's usually always trying to get rid of bad habits.
Yeah, I think that's what we fight about the most, because sa totoo lang, we don't really fight much. But when it comes to responsibility and accountability, that's really a big thing for the both of us. Kasi hindi naman kami nag-aaway because of third parties or being jealous about anything. It's really about the respect that we have for each other when it comes to work and when it comes to each other's responsibilities. One thing that we fought about na big time was when I had a mistake in terms of work and I wasn't accountable for it. Like I just kept saying sorry to Mikael because I knew that I did something wrong. But he was telling me na you don't even realize what you're doing wrong. So parang dun kami nag-away ng sobrang todo-todo na away. And um, nawala ako.
Yeah, no. I get the point that you were saying. It kept on happening because it came to the point that she was so numb to making the mistake that she was just getting ahead of herself and apologizing for the mistake without actually fixing the actual problem.
Okay.
And that's what annoyed me to the highest heavens
Yeah.
because I was like, what? I don't even care. You can never say sorry to me and I will never care as long as you work on yourself.
Right.
So parang for me, I always tell Bones that what would make me the happiest if I see you trying to be the best version of yourself, because that would give me the confidence to do my own thing as well and know that you're taking care of yourself and vice versa. Parang for me, the best way that we can grow together is if we're also growing individually. So that's what has worked for us in our experience. Because if you're just growing together and you have no time for yourself and growing to grow individually, then parang may naiiwan pa rin. So I think in all aspects of kind of your relationship and your life, there has to be constant growth and improvement and just catching yourself whenever there's a road bump.
And we always think hypothetically. So Mikael told me one day, okay, hypothetically speaking, what if bigla kang nawala or bigla siyang nawala? And as sad as it sounds to like think of things like this, he's like, kakayanin mo ba kung mag-isa ka? Or kakayanin ba niya kung wala ako sa tabi niya? So that's why it's also really important for us to grow individually because you don't know what's going to happen the next day. And you need to be able to bring yourself up and take care of the responsibilities na kahit wala siya sa tabi ko, kaya ko to. But it's great that we're here together because at least, things work out the best. We're able to, do things faster and more efficiently. But we just need to check up on each other para at least alam namin pwede kaming tumayo as individuals.
No, definitely. And I think it's really important to, grow individually as a person. That's why, like, I often find it bullshit when people say, like, when people break up and it's like, I just need to find myself or I just need to grow by myself, because there's a way to do it naman with your partner, diba? And your partner should be the one to help you grow individually, because if you're not growing, if you're stagnating as a person, then, like, who wants that? Like, who wants to be the same person that you were last year, right? You always want to, improve yourself in every level. And, if you have a partner that can help you achieve your goals and like, there's not enough sorries that you could say or apologies that you could give, like, to like when you make a mistake. What's more important is that you do something about it, and not for your other person, but for yourself, like try to make yourself a better person. And, it seems like it has, it had done you guys well, because you guys have reached 100K subscribers on Behind Relationship Goals. Congratulations again. And you guys have been grinding, and it's been really nice to watch your like mixed channel and your podcast grow over the years. And I guess with that being said, I just want to move on to like more or less my last question of the show, which is, what is one thing you wish you knew before starting your channel or podcast?
That's
really interesting. One thing I wish I knew is actually super simple. You're gonna laugh, Monizy.
Right.
One thing I wish I knew was knowing all the technicalities of setting up clean audio.
Yes.
That's really it. Because of course you always wish you start off great. And me, I'm of the belief that just start and improve na lang as you go along. That's the fastest way to learn. But with hindsight now, I wish that I had super crispy audio right away. It took a while for us to get to that. We went through a lot of different
Hiccups.
mics, setups, editing settings, codecs, compression settings to get to audio quality and characteristics that we both enjoyed, and that was both efficient as well to set up.
Mhm.
I mean, it was weird. We got to the point where we were kind of like foaming the walls. We were putting like soundproof,
Yeah.
and it was like, "What are we doing? This is
It's
crazy."
too much. Like
Well,
we were
the audio
stressing
is king
ourselves
though, for
out.
real, especially with podcasts and like there's no visuals that you can really show.
Yeah.
It's like everything's audio. So I mean, I can completely agree with what you guys had to say there.
Yeah. So there. So that Bonizy, what's yours? Because
Yeah,
that was mine. That's mine.
For me, I wish I had more fun in the beginning because I was stressing out more about what should we talk about? How should we talk about it? Who's going to listen to us? So I was thinking about unnecessary things that I should have just let go and I should have just enjoyed the conversation more with Mikael because when I think about the podcast and I think about the conversations that we have, these are conversations that Mikael and I have before we go to bed. Like when we're just talking in bed about the most random stuff. And just a side note on this, Emilio, Mikael's youngest brother, for those that don't know, the second youngest, slept over at our
I
place.
remember. Sorry.
He
Let me
slept
laugh
over
this
at
up.
our place one time and he slept in our room. We had like an extra bed for him. And Mikael and I ended up having our midnight conversations. Although trying to be as quiet as possible, Emilio just burst out saying, "You guys talk too much before you go to bed."
I can super imagine that with the just sungit face pa.
Yeah.
And his grumpy voice.
Yeah.
You guys talk too much. I was like, just put in earplugs. And then we just ended up laughing about it because we didn't realize how much we were talking. And it was just, our nighttime conversations. And yeah, and we should just had more fun with it at the beginning.
Yeah, and I actually completely resonate with the two of you guys because like myself, the first podcast I ever did was it was a solo podcast because I had to explain what the hell the podcast was gonna be about and who I am. And like I still remember it. I was using just the normal iPhone earphone microphone, the one that's already built
Yeah.
in, and then I had a blanket over my head to kind of suppress the sound, and I was just like going on a monologue, but I was so nervous. I did like at least 15 takes of that.
Oh my God.
At least 15 takes because like I said one word wrong and I'm like, and every time I'd listen to it I'm like, wow, I sound so stupid, like I shouldn't have to post this, should I even do this? But I mean, I'm also of the same mentality as you, Mick. Like you just gotta start, just put yourself out there and learn on the fly. And as my podcast has been growing since last year, I upgraded now to nicer microphone, started learning about
Nice.
the microphone technicalities from condenser to dynamic, and just learning different editing skills, like the compression nga, like you said. I mean, I'm still learning. I'm still using GarageBand and just trying to play around with like the basic settings, but it's really just all about starting. So with that, it kind of leads me to my last question. I promise the last one.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
go for it. No worries, man.
I guess for anybody out there who's thinking of starting a podcast or was in the same position that I was in last year, what is one tip you would give that person who is looking to start?
Oh, easy. I'm gonna jump off what Rocket just said. Check out his first podcast and look how far he's come. I mean, look, talks great interviewer, so hospitable. It just goes to show that when you just start, you will learn. And I think the expectation to be perfect is completely overblown.
Mhm.
Okay, there is no expectation for anybody to be perfect. Just start it, and that journey of getting better and improving is actually one of the most relatable stories that you can share to people. So that's just my own experience, but that's also my way of asking people, hey, gawin mo na. But yeah, that's my tip.
For me, my tip would be that, when you listen to a lot of podcasts or you see podcasts, there are a lot of one episode only podcasts. So
Oo nga, no? Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying don't start a podcast, but if it's something that you really want to do and you're passionate about it, be consistent, because even though you're scared to do it or if you have hesitations about it, it's okay. So parang my tip is meshing in with Mikael's tip na just do it. And for me, be consistent, because you never know what journey your podcast is going to take you on. You don't know, like baka mamaya yung iniisip mong topic mo from the beginning might change or evolve into something else because, the conversation just takes you there. So you never know where life or what conversation is going to take you to a certain point. So
Yeah. I mean, just to share with Roque, I think Emilio had one vlog. And that was
Yeah,
it.
I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it also. He got inspired by you, and then after that, he was just like, that's when he's hiking with his friends, diba?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I don't remember. I know he had one vlog. That was it.
Nako, after this podcast, he's gonna be like, you guys made me the butt of your jokes during
Yeah.
the
He's gonna be so grumpy again.
Yeah.
Don't be grumpy, Mia boy.
Yeah, we love you, man. We love you. But yeah, those are some great tips, and I can really relate with that because back then the only thing that was really stopping me from having a podcast was myself. It was my own self doubts. It was my own insecurity. But when you just start, you don't even need to really promote it. Just put it out there first, and just get a little bit comfortable, and and parang for me like the failure of having like a, I wouldn't say bad podcast because I don't think any podcast naman is bad if it has value to you, but let's just say it doesn't do so well. That failure is nothing compared to the failure of never even trying and like just living your whole entire life just knowing that what if I did this, and like just having all of those regrets. So for anyone that is thinking of putting out a podcast, just do it, man. Like what's the shame? Like, and what I keep telling people is like the amount of people that are actually gonna appreciate your podcast will like triple or even quadruple the amount of people that will like hate on it. Like honestly, why would people hate on like you or the podcast that you make? Like they have more important things to do than to hate on it. So like just don't think about it. Just start, put yourself out there, and you'll learn along the way. So I guess with that being said, I just want to wrap up the pod by saying thank you again for being on the show. Like I honestly had so much fun catching up with you guys. It's been a while since our last basketball session in Baler. And,
Oh my God! Whoa.
yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that after.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a while, and I honestly had so much fun talking with you guys, catching up and learning about how your relationship dynamic works with your podcast and all. So but before I go, I think now would be a perfect time for you to plug in where people can find you or the work that you guys do.
Yeah, you guys can follow the podcast on YouTube or Spotify. That is hashtag behind relationship goals. And you can also follow us at Mikael Daez and at Megan Bata on our socials.
And Soba Doba Daez on Instagram.
Yeah, go get Soba so that she can wave goodbye. She's super sleepy, by the way, but it's okay. She's cute naman.
Yeah, she's super cute. She need that clout.
Baby.
Oh, what a cutie. Oh, so cute. So yeah, you know where to find them, and that about does it. So I want to thank you all listeners for tuning in to another episode of the Rockets Modern Life podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to share with hashtag RML podcast and hit that follow on Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram so that you never miss an episode. And as always, I'll see you all in the next one. Deuces.